Hey there, music maker, it's your pal Hayes Griffin. Today, I have a sweet new piece of gear in the studio that I just have to share with you, the Schertler JAM Amplifier. As you guys may have seen recently, I picked up a Schertler Dyne G, Dyne M, and yellow single preamp for my guitar and mandolin, and I was having a chat with the folks at Schertler, and they noticed that my amp situation wasn't quite in their wheelhouse yet. So they sent me this JAM amplifier. I actually purchased it with my own money because I was so excited to test this thing out. The JAM is kind of like their medium-size option acoustic amp in their flagship series. There's the smaller David, which features an XLR and an instrument input, but today on the JAM amplifier we've got 5 channels, 1 instrument, 2 XLR channels, a stereo in 3.5mm jack, and we also have an effects return loop on here. So lots of options for you folks out there. First things first, I'm going to be using my E.J. Henderson OM guitar today with the Schertler AG6 and the S mic attachment first up here. For those of you that don't know, the Schertler AG6 is a magnetic guitar pickup, so it's got that kind of signature magnetic type sound. It sounds more, maybe a little warmer than a lot of the traditional undersaddle or piezo pickup type situations. So that's what we're working with in the instrument channel. And then in channel 2, I'm going to be trying out the Schertler Dyne G P48 contact microphone on my guitar. Channel 3 is going to feature the Dyne M P48 contact microphone on my mandolin. Let's go ahead, dive in. All right, so first things first, channel 1, I am going to put the volume at about noon and then sprinkle in a touch of gain. That sounds about right. So we've got a little bit of low-end womp there. Let me turn away from the amp. So there it is with the EQ flat and everything and the magnetic pickup. Just to be clear, I have a little bit of the microphone dialed in, so you are hearing that magnetic pickup with a little bit of the acoustic guitar natural sound. Just the microphone level. So there's the amp with EQ flat. Let's go ahead. I want to roll some of those low ends back. And then let's just see what that does. Maybe give a little bump there and a little bump there. Check that out. I think I know what I'm looking at here. So we do have parametric mids kind of controls on this amplifier. So we've got lows, parametric mids, so you can dial in your frequency. If you can't see it, it's 300 hertz to 3.3 hertz. So that's going to give you kind of like, you know, parametric, so it's a sweep of frequencies around that frequency. And then you've got a gain switch for the parametric mids right here that you can use to adjust that frequency. So let's go, I'm not good with my numbers, but let's just even, how about we sweep it? So there's a little bit of the sound with those lows dialed back. That sounds a little better to me, less womp in there. So let's kind of sweep this one around. I'm going to start down here and just bring it around. You can hear a difference in the sound, right? The D note up there and that G really started to pop out once we get to the top end. Cool. I'm going to set that back in the middle, leave the gain where it is on that. Let's even dial the highs back. Let's sweep that one around, see what it does. those top strings starting to pop out now. It's almost like you only hear that and not even really much of this. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put that at about 1 o'clock. And I didn't sweep the lows around. Let's see what that does. Knew that was going to happen. And you can see that's a pretty sensitive control, especially with this magnetic pickup here. So definitely not going to mess with the lows really much above noon there. So I think I'm going to put it about 11 o'clock. Let's turn that volume back up. And then let's just kind of see where that goes. So already a pretty hot signal. Going to take that back down to about noon. And you can see where the gain is too, right? So let's maybe bring the volume down. Let's put the gain somewhere around noon and then dial the volume up. There we are with gain all the way around 3 o'clock. So as you can see, like, you've got a ton of headroom on this amplifier. My volume switch, right, it's very low right now, so I'm going to go ahead and bring the gain back down maybe to about 11 or 10. Compensate there. And as you can see, the master volume is at about halfway right now. We're going to leave that there. But like I said, tons of headroom on this amp, man. You can even hear those low ends are going to go nuts. So let me gain it down, lows down, volume up a little bit. I think I want a little bit more low end. And as you can tell, you can use the gain as kind of an EQ in a way here. The more gain I had, the more low end was coming through, right? So So there's a little sample with where I've got the settings right now. That's just my initial first pass here, you know. You can obviously refine as much as you want. I would definitely suggest, you know, playing around with these things, and your pickup is going to be different than mine, especially if you've got, like I said, a piezo or something like that. So there's channel 1 for us. Just to point out some other features, we do have 10 volts here for like electret microphones and stuff like that. There's a phase switch, and then there's this warm switch. So that just right. So that's a way to kind of maybe tame a brighter instrument or something like that. I think Schertler specifically says for brighter pickups like the ones that you would place on the bridge of like a violin or something like that. We also have aux out on channel 1 there. And then, oh, I never tested out. How could I miss this? Let's dial in some reverb. So you've got a reverb, like an aux control over here, and then like your master reverb controls over here. Let's see how this sounds. Ooh, yeah. Let's get a little more decay. Yeah, longer decay. Nice reverb sound. Let's max her out. How surfy can we get here? It is kind of a spring type reverb, right? Ooh. Gotta love some reverb. Okay, enough fun with that. And I would definitely, if I'm being serious about my reverb sound here, little goes a long way, right? A little more than that, though. Great sound. Love it. Awesome. Well, I am going to go ahead and let's just turn the master volume on that channel down. So as you can hear, no more channel 1 coming out. And let's dial up the Dyne G pickup that I've got here. So for that, you will need this 24 phantom power. Like as you can see, if I turn that off and then turn it up here. Oh yeah, no sound. So turn it back down, engage the 24 volt phantom power. Let's gain right there. Okay. I love the sound of these Dyne G P48 contact microphones, by the way. This is like my new favorite microphone system. And the one you will see on my guitar at gigs. So there's just like an EQ flat kind of situation going on. Let's go ahead and start to turn some knobs. So on channel 2, we've got some different stuff here, right? There's an instrument in, so we could have gone 1/4 inch here. 10 volt for those Electret microphones, like Schertler says in the manual. This resonance function, which allows you to dial in 240 or 150 hertz. So here we are on like the 240 setting. We're out, so let's kind of check that out. Now engage it. Oh, that was 150. Now we're on 240. Cool. So I believe the way that it works, like all the way to the left, there's no attenuation or whatever, and then all the way to the right, you're kind of working on that frequency. Cool. Let's take some low end back. See how it sounds. Starting to get muddy and feedbacky. Yep. And I know I'm staring right at the amp, but you would never really want to dial that much low end in. Need a little bit of thump on that G, right? Mids. I like them just a little north and noon there, and then highs all the way back. Starting to get sparkly. To my ear in the room, that's where I like it, so, you know, it may be a little different when you're listening in there. Let's get some reverb going. Oh yeah, that's a good sound. Nice. Let's have a little bit of fun. I'm going to sprinkle in some of that AG6 magnetic pickup with the S mic, just to see what that kind of does for the sound. So there it is. Just Dyne G. A little bit of the AG6. You can already hear some increased low end. Let's go up there. Now I can hear that magnetic pickup quality come in there, that kind of squishy Les Paul, the guitar player, not the guitar type of sound. Actually, no, I'm thinking Jimmy Bryant. Yeah. I'll explain that later. Up to noon. And see, at that point, I actually prefer the AG6, maybe more back down here. I like the low end boost that it kind of gives. So it's almost like I like a little bit less of the AG6 and then more the P48. And yes, actually, I'm even shoink, going a little more back. And you know, maybe we can even do this, the gain on the... Actually, yeah. I like that. Yeah. Now just to fully test her out, the AG6 is off. Back to channel 2. Man, still a great sound. I love the sound of that Dyne G. Well, I'm going to go ahead and actually, let's mute this amplifier. Awesome. And unplug here, and let's grab the mandolin. Test out channel 3. All right. Mando is plugged in. Is it in tune? Close enough for bluegrass. All right. Kind of like that. Maybe that back down. I like what the extra gain does. If you're an audiophile out there, or an audio nerd or engineer or something, tell me why. That's something you got to watch out for on these Dyne series pickups. I think I'm going to end up taking the pick guard off of this red diamond. Don't tell anyone. All right, so that's a good setting. Let's check out no lows. Ribbon mic sound. Robust. Ooh. Yep, too much. I kind of like it back here. No, actually. This red diamond, I like it because it's a darker sound for a red diamond. It's the vintage 22 voicing, so it's a little darker. So I like to highlight that. Let's we've got parametric mids here again, so let's leave that gain at noon. Bring it down here. Let's even bring the gain up. Let's do that. This, in my opinion, folks, the amp sounds great, by the way, but I love the Dyne series pickup, contact microphone for the mandolin. Best mandolin sound I've ever had plugged in, so just want to say that. And I think I'm dialing in a pretty decent sound. Let's put some verb in there. Ooh, spacey. Cool. Nice. Well, obviously, I kind of got sucked into that there, folks. Totally digging the Schertler JAM Amplifier. I unfortunately do not have anything to test out in the stereo in, but I could see that being real handy if you had some backing tracks or something like that that you wanted to play with. If you were like busking or playing a, like a bar gig or a coffee shop gig, that could be a really useful kind of thing for you there. I also really dig the fact that you can go like with an effects return here. That's super convenient. I know it seems ridiculous, but we do like to carry a few pedals around these days if you are plugging in. I know that I've got a reverb pedal that I really like that might offer some different flavors than the amp here. There's also delay that I like to use sometimes on the mandolin. But like I said, this is an awesome amplifier, and I think, as you saw here today, extremely versatile, right? Because we've got those 3 channels. Something I didn't test out here today, say that you are a singer-songwriter or going out to busk or something like that. You've got 2 XLR channels and the instrument channel, right? Say you've got a pickup for your guitar and maybe something like one of the Dyne series pickups. You can occupy the first 2 channels with that and then do a vocal mic on channel 3 or something like that. So lots of configurations that you can go with here. The thing that I was thinking is that, obviously I jam a lot with my buddy Jacob, friend of the channel here. So you can do mandolin, guitar, and then, something else in the instrument channel, or mandolin, guitar, vocals, all sort of different configurations that you can think of. And I think that's why I landed on the JAM amplifier. And thanks to Thomas at Schertler for steering me through that conversation. Like I said, they have a couple different amps in their series. The David amplifier is probably the one that you see most. It's like their compact version. It's got an XLR and an instrument input, but having the extra channels featured here on this amplifier, I think makes it kind of like a little bit sweeter at that price point, in my opinion. Speaking of the price point, you can get one of these for just under $2,000 at Schertler.com. You can find the JAM amplifier. I would also suggest checking out the Dyne series contact microphones. Like I said, that's kind of my go-to system for the mandolin and the guitar these days, and I think you can tell from the tone. It's a very natural sound. You see a lot of jazz manouche players and stuff like that using those pickups these days, and I think Schertler is definitely gaining a name specifically in the acoustic scene for their versatility on acoustic instruments and their natural sound. Also check out the Schertler AG6 pickup and the S-Mic system. I think that's a really cool sound. If you're into that magnetic pickup sound, I could see that being really useful for me on some of the swing gigs that I play, because I do like that kind of warm, it almost gives me like a kind of late 30s or early 40s pickup vibe, like those, P90 dog ear kind of sounds that you could get out of one of these amplifiers. And once again, sprinkle some pedals into the mix for the effects return, or put some reverb on there, and you've got a lot of versatile sounds. So Schertler, they're really doing some cool stuff these days, some kind of non-traditional pickups and extremely versatile amps, so definitely check them out. One thing that I almost forgot to mention here, I did buy some accessories for the JAM amplifier. We've got the carrying bag here, which is really comfy. I kind of carried it up the stairs over my shoulder, and you can definitely carry 2 instruments and the bag at the same time, which is pretty cool. And then the amp, as you can kind of see here in some of the shots, it's on the Schertler stand that you can buy. Each of those is about $180 a piece for the accessories. Well worth it, in my opinion, if you're going to be using this thing. You want to protect that nice wood finish there. Come on, man. These are beautiful amps. Awesome, folks. I think that's all we've got here for today, but thanks so much to the folks at Schertler for sending me this gear to test out for you guys. And I think you should definitely give them a look if you're an acoustic musician. They're really doing some cool stuff specifically for us. So thanks, Schertler. But hey, stick around. We've got more great content right here.